one of the most sickening things I've seen is Joe Rogan, who frankly I wouldn't trust to tell me the time in a room full of clocks, interviewing Trump just before the election and not asking him a single challenging question, allowing him to get away with the most blatant lies, where he's sitting there saying, "Oh no, I didn't say jail Hillary." What you did, you were orchestrating the chants. You loved it. You encouraged it. And then immediately on the night of the inauguration at the dinner, Trump stands up during his speech and eulogizes the Clintons who were in the audience, asks them to stand up, standing ovation for him. I love those people, or words to that effect. You're dealing with a fraud. They're all frauds. You know, because perception is the stadium in which this whole game is played out of, they're all after your perception. So you have the perception of Trump going after the Clintons in the first term, if he got in, which he did, until he's across the line and it don't matter anymore. He never intended to do it. They're lying to you, because you know what happens in an election campaign anywhere in the world. The politicians look at who they need to convince to get elected, and they tell that constituency what they want to hear. They overwhelmingly have no intention of doing it, not doing what they say they'll do, and actually doing what they say they won't do. But they need to get across the line. And there's no contract between what they say in an election campaign and what they do afterwards. And so they tell you what you want to hear. And then when they get in, they do what they intended to do all along. And that's what happened. You imagine Trump, Shaun, saying to the MAGA base during the election campaign, what I'm going to do is be a front man for the AI Silicon Valley and Israeli tech oligarchy. And I'm going to bring in the AI control system and human AI fusion that you people don't want. I'm going to do this alongside telling you that I'm not going to have a central bank digital currency in America, because I know you'll like that. Oh yeah, old Trump, we're winning. But what I am going to do, I'm going to bring in stable coins, which are just as programmable as the CBDCs. And it's the programmability which can dictate what you can buy and where you can buy it, that the whole scam is a digital money scam is founded upon. So this is the thing. It's not only that you can't be a journalist if you are a partisan for a political guy or party, but you cannot either see the wood for the trees if you see anyone as your savior and anyone in terms of, in effect, a cult leader. You can't. You're not making a perceptually dispassionate decision on the evidence. You're making the decision based on other criteria, which is Trump's the savior in this case. And we've got to deprogram ourselves from allegiance to parties and allegiance to individuals, and start to let the evidence be our guide, no matter what it is, and not other criteria.
So, David, you've been steeped in conspiracy research for decades. People like Ian Carroll and Candice, like you pointed out, they're relatively new to it compared to yourself. Now that they are exposing the administration for not releasing the Epstein files, do you give them some credit for that at least?
Well, I am supportive of anyone that puts out information that's valid. However, my question is, why did it take you so long to see it? I was calling out Trump in 2016 as a front man for Israel. It was blatant. His biggest funder was Sheldon Adelson, the casino magnate and ultra Zionist, $100 million. And part of that deal was that Trump would move the American embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, which was not just symbolic, but massively symbolic in terms of the dynamics of Israel. And Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk, this guy who's never seen a Trump backside he doesn't want to kiss, were in Jerusalem at that time when the thing was moved and the celebration happened and the ceremony happened. Very much in support of it. And yet it was obvious that he was owned by Israel. And then we had the second term, where he's funded by the widow, Miriam Adelson, for $100,000. Oh, by the way, in the first term, he also agreed with Adelson that he would acknowledge the Golan Heights, Syrian land, as Israel's land. And he did. And there's a location in the Golan Heights called Trump Heights, I think, to commemorate that. But in this second term, another $100 million from Miriam Adelson. And the agreement was that he will, at some point in this presidency, acknowledge Israel ownership of the West Bank, which is now basically being completely taken over by so-called settlers. And by the way, there were sanctions against the settlers who were stealing Palestinian land and property in the West Bank until Trump came to office the second time. And one of his first actions was to take those sanctions off. His virtual first actions, too, were to take all limits on the supply of weapons to Israel. This man is owned by Israel. And is it just a coincidence that Jeffrey Epstein was running a Mossad Israeli, probably the CIA involved as well, blackmail operation with Ghislaine Maxwell? Ghislaine Maxwell, who is the daughter of Robert Maxwell, who is a known Mossad agent, who worked for them for a very long time and died on his yacht, the Lady Ghislaine, off the Canary Islands, and was given in effect, a state funeral on the Mount of Olives in Jerusalem, which was attended by the president of Israel, the prime minister of Israel, and a stream of current and former intelligence chiefs. And the idea that I met Robert Maxwell once. I was doing a film for the BBC, a documentary on a football club that he owned called Oxford United. And it involved me interviewing him in his office at Mirror Newspapers because he owned Mirror Newspapers and many other papers. And when I left with the crew, I felt like I needed a bloody shower because I'd come into the presence of pure bloody evil. So there you have Maxwell, an agent of Mossad and sure other intelligence agencies as well, because in the end they all connect. And then you have his daughter running this operation with Epstein. And you know, I've talked to people, I'm sure you have too. I've talked to people who were girls at the time in the Epstein network, now women, who talk about the hidden cameras and the hidden microphones in the properties of Epstein, because it was a blackmail operation. Because, you know, you have those that are knowingly part of the cult and do what they do in support of its agenda. You have others who couldn't give a damn about anything except their own power and wealth, and you can get them on board and get them to do what you want to do with money and prestige and position. And then there's others that you feel the need to blackmail, and so you need things on them. And this is why the cult loves to have people in power who have done stuff that they don't want to come out, because then we gotcha. Look, mate, we can keep this quiet, and you can be wealthy and powerful as long as you do what we say. Or you can not do what we say, in which case you wouldn't want that across the front pages, would you? And this is how it works. This is what when you see people who come into politics, sometimes with genuine intent, and they oppose things and they vehemently go against things, and then suddenly they switch. Now they're in favor of what they were against before. And sometimes it's telling people what they want to hear and then doing what you intended all along. But other times it's blackmail that brings that about. And so and you know, the thing is, I first came across the and networks in the mid 1990s, and I've been gathering more and more information ever since. And it is the cement that holds this whole cult web together, by those that are active, and by active, and also because those that are brought into those rings and situations so they can be blackmailed. And you know, we talk about the Epstein situation, and we should, but this stuff's going on all over the world. Epstein's not something that is unique. Nothing like. It's happening everywhere. And it's all about, in the end, getting people to do what you want them to do to advance your agenda to a global dystopia. And I must say, maybe some people might think that it's stretching credulity, just a little bit, to think that Donald Trump was a close friend of Epstein for 10, 15 years. And they would have things on him, have no doubt about that. And then out of nowhere, he suddenly runs for office for president and wins twice. And in office, gives Israel virtually everything it wants. I mean, if people think that's a coincidence, I've got some seafront property in the Midwest they might like to buy.